Hey there, welcome to the program. So, welcome to our Friday lunchtime live stream. I am here, as always, excited about the topic that we are going to get into today. We've got a lot to discuss. I just want to let you know. So, I have, check this out here, 13 pages of research that I have done on this topic. And to be quite honest with you, I have not even scratched the surface. So we've got a lot to talk about with regard to carbs. The title of our live stream today, can you really be addicted to carbs? So for your friends, for your girlfriends, your sisters, your mom, all those folks that you have this conversation with about bad carbs, good carbs, no carbs, low carbs, grab them right now and tell them to join in on this live stream. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that while we take care of some business. Look behind me here, this way, right there, and you will see that I've got a couple of cups back here, notating the Bengals. Who Dey? Guess what today is? It is preseason opening day. Preseason opening day. And check this out. We are taking 32 people over to the Bengals game tonight. 32. There's going to be 33 of us, including myself, offering hospitality in the club suites, offering folks free sodas, and offering service in the press box. And we are taking the light of Christ with us. The reason I'm saying this, obviously I want to give you an opportunity to do this with us down the road. We are doing this at every single home game. We're partnering with the Cincinnati Bengals to offer hospitality at every single home game to their season ticket holders and those that have purchased tickets in their club suites. We're offering hospitality there, but more importantly, we are shining the love of Christ. And we're asking anybody, all of us are praying, and we're asking anybody that's not going with us to be in prayer about this. We see this as a golden opportunity to shine the love of Jesus, to witness if we are given the opportunity. We're only there to offer hospitality. We're not there to preach. We're not there to, get on our soapbox. We're there to offer hospitality. But we fully believe that as we are doing that we are going to be shining the love of Christ. Souls are going to be convicted, and salvation, redemption, healing, and just overall love is going to be found and felt. So we're very, very excited. So just, if you would, go ahead and begin to pray for us all day today. The game starts at 7:30, and we're all heading over there around 4 o'clock. It's going to be a busy day for us. Also, if you are interested in helping us with this, we want you to, right? We want you to help us with this. If you are interested in helping us with this, make sure that you check out those opportunities. We share those on social media. You probably have seen a flyer like this floating around on my social media, on our social media. Scan me. That's for the next game. So if I have shared something that has sparked your interest and you're watching me from a laptop or an iPad right now, scan this right now with your phone. Take a picture of this with your phone. It will open it up to the opportunity for you to go ahead and volunteer with us at the next home game, which is August 27th, a Saturday night. Another great time. But after that, there's 8 home games. 2 of them are prime time, which means televised, and they're going to be a big deal. Monday Night Football is going to be right here in Cincinnati in January. There's going to be another Thursday night primetime game. We've got the Steelers coming to town, the Browns coming to town. So if you want to experience any of those games from the club suites, help give back to our ministry and just witness the love of God, then please, we want you to do that. We want you to join us. So we're excited about that. And the other thing, what we are doing right now is we are also in the month of August. And one of the things that we are doing is sharing our 40-day miracle. This is our first published devotion, and we want to share it with you. And I was going to do this a couple of weeks ago. This is totally unrelated to our topic for today, but I feel the need to share this with you. And I hope it translates well over the live stream. But I wanted to share with you one of the devotionals in this book. For a lot of people, the issue of weight and not being able to lose weight comes down to emotion in a lot of ways. We're going to talk about the carb thing, but it comes down to emotion, comes down to hurt, comes down to pain and suffering and bitterness. And so we eat all those emotions. So I wanted to share with you one of the times that God really spoke to me with regard to my health and wellness and what was going on in my life. It is day 19, if you happen to pick up this book. So you can pick up this book. We've got a couple left here. You can always order them on Amazon, but we want to give you a personalized message in your devotional this month. I want to share a personal message with you. So if you would like to donate to our ministry with a love offering of $20 or more, when you do that in August, I'm going to send you this book with a personal message to you, my heart to your heart. But I wanted to share with you day 19. I'm going to do it quickly because I want to get into our topic. But the scripture that we spoke of on day 19 comes from 2 Corinthians 2:7-8, and it says, "So that on the contrary, you ought rather to forgive and comfort him, lest perhaps such a one be swallowed up with too much sorrow. Therefore, I urge you to reaffirm your love to him." The title of this devotion was "It's Time to Forgive." And I'm going to summarize some of it, but I wrote one day, for some people, myself included, forgiveness was a conditional way and a conditional word for a long time in my life. I found it easy to forgive some people for some of the things that they did that wronged me or were unfair. Holding grudges about most things was not an issue. I didn't find myself the type of person that held grudges. But that is until the dark and dirty secret of my family, dark and dirty secret of family alcoholism entered the picture in my life. If you've lived it, we likely share some of the same dark words in our stories: lying, stealing, cheating, jail, prison, abandonment. What a list. And that's just one story. The cloud of alcoholism still, and even though I wrote this several years ago, it still today looms over my family, but the cloud of unforgiveness does not. And for that, I will forever be thankful. My ability to forgive and not hold grudges came the day my brother left this earthly life to be with Jesus. And yes, his death was a direct result of a lifelong battle with alcoholism. I remember standing in the ICU waiting room arguing with God, and I was begging and pleading with him to tell me what in the world we were supposed to learn as a family from this devastation, especially my mom. My heart was just broken for my mom. My brother had left my parents in turmoil. He left a young daughter who barely knew him, and she had previously lost her estranged mother as well. The anger was almost unbearable. But in those moments, I felt the Holy Spirit reach down and almost literally rip out the hard heart I had developed over the years and replace it with what the Bible calls a heart of flesh. He whispered gently, "You just love him like I love you, with all your dark and dirty secrets. You need not forgive the sin, but you must forgive and love the person." I have a feeling many of us are dealing with this deep issue of unforgiveness today, and it's having a devastating impact on our ability to lose weight. You may be like I was. The pain of what the person did or is still doing is making you feel like it would be impossible to forgive them. Abandonment, drug abuse, neglect, and all the repercussions are just too much for you to forgive. And I understand, I truly do. But at some point, we have to realize that we're eating that anger. That's what I did. We are stuffing down those feelings of hate and bitterness, and we're drowning ourselves in emotions of sadness and shame. The inability to forgive has trapped us in a vicious cycle of pain and overeating. Make no mistake, forgiveness is not a switch that can be turned on, but it is a destination that you can wake up today and say, "I'm going there. I'm going there. I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but I know it's beautiful and I can't wait to get there. So I pray if you are in a cycle of eating your hurt and pain, and it is connected in some way to unforgiveness, that God gives you the ability to live out John 8:36 today and set you free. For whom the Son sets free is free indeed. And each devotion is followed up with a prayer. It's followed up with strategies that will help you implement the lesson that is found in that devotion as well. So I pray that if unforgiveness is one of the things that you are dealing with, that maybe this devotion, one of the days, several of the days, will help you navigate through that. And so we appreciate, obviously, your support in that to build and expand our ministry. So let's get to this. Maybe in some of this, we're eating those carbs and they are becoming an issue in our weight loss too. So not only the emotions, but now we're dealing with the fact that maybe we are addicted to carbs. Is that even possible? Well, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, I'm not going to wait till the end. I believe, and the research I believe indicates that the answer is absolutely yes. You can be addicted to carbs. What we know, I've studied the American Journal of Nutrition, the American Journal of Diabetes, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. What they all similarly point to is this. Foods that are what we call high glycemic, and I'm going to get to that, or bad carbs, y'all know that word, bad carbs might very well trigger the same areas of the brain that substance use and abuse does. Right? So in other words, it stimulates these hormones and these endorphins in the brain that say to you and interact with your cravings and say to you that you want that thing, you want to do that thing or eat that food or participate in that behavior, even though you know it's bad for you, it will have negative repercussions, or you are not hungry when it comes to food. Now, make no mistake, pornography actually has been linked to do the same thing as well, triggering those same areas of your brain. So, high glycemic index. Or HGI, you see sometimes, GI stands for glycemic index. High glycemic foods are the bad foods. They're the processed carbs. They're the foods that our body doesn't know what to do with, highly processed, and they affect our blood sugar levels. And foods that have a high glycemic index, highly processed, increase our blood sugar levels, and that interferes with our ability to digest food. I'll get more into that in a second. But I want to talk to you for a quick second about what carbs are in general and why you can't just write them off. You can't just write them off. If you're addicted to them, number one, you're going to come back one day and really overdo it if you've tried to stay away from them totally. But at the same time, your body needs good carbs, right? So carbohydrates are one of the three main macronutrients that your body needs to optimally operate, right? Fats, carbs, proteins. We're not talking about fats or proteins today, but we're talking about carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, and your body needs them it's the main macronutrient that your body uses to produce and store energy. So when you get off carbs for a long time, if you go, you'll eventually find yourself lethargic and lazy and sluggish, unable to think, unable to focus. That's what ends up happening. Your body needs complex carbs. And arguably, some scientists will tell us that carbohydrates are the most important source of energy for your body's main cells, tissues, and organs. So your body needs carbohydrates. Please don't go zero carb. I'm going to get off my soapbox in a second. But are they addictive? The wrong kinds are addictive. Yes, they are. And you can probably relate, because you probably say to yourself, I just want that chocolate. I just feel like chocolate. I feel like chips. I want those chips. I want that cake. I want those cookies. And what we know is that what we're learning is that it's less an issue of willpower and discipline than it is brain chemistry and addiction. Hence the reason you can't kick the habit with willpower, right? So, what do we do about this? I mean, that's the big question. I want to go kind of backtrack a little bit and explain this whole glycemic index and the high glycemic foods, because I want to help you understand what they are and where they're at and why you might be finding yourself addicted to them. Because the other thing that scientists are finding is that, like alcohol, high glycemic foods and foods, especially with something called fructose in them, promote insulin resistance, abnormal fat levels in your blood, and liver inflammation, just like alcohol addiction. And it stimulates your brain in a way that triggers your appetite for that food and for that thing. And it becomes more of an issue of, I just see it and I want it. I'm not hungry for it. My body doesn't need it, but it gives me instant pleasure regardless of the long-term effects. So I see it and I want it. Hence the addiction. And the other thing that we're learning is that in addition to that, the addictive side of it, the other thing that's going on is that when we fall prey to the addiction, when we live in that addiction, the brain resets the level of fat mass your body wants to preserve. Right? So we're addicted to carbs. We're eating all these processed carbs because our brain is saying, you see it, you want it. It has nothing to do with whether or not you need it or you're hungry for it. It's just a chemical reaction going on in your brain. But then our brain resets our body's fat mass preservation to say that you need to preserve more fat, which is why it gets harder to lose weight. You hear people all the time talk about stubborn fat, stubborn fat, stubborn fat. More than likely, those people eat an abundance of highly processed carbs. So it's less about the fat in your body is stubborn than it is about the carbs you are eating are causing your body to hang on to fat. So it's not that you can't get rid of fat. It's that you have to change the kind of carbs that you are eating in order to do it. You don't go no carb, you change the carbs. So when we talk about that, we have to talk about this glycemic index, because high glycemic foods do something in our blood sugar, and they also affect dopamine levels in our brain. Okay, so dopamine is that pleasure reward. And again, it goes back to that food makes me feel good, so I want more. It gives me instant gratification. It makes me feel good, so I want more. And I also read about a study where women in ages 18 to 45, which is a great majority of the women I work with, maybe some a little bit older, but 18 to 45, most of the women I work with are prone to emotional eating. These women were too. And these women were in a study, and it showed that when they were typically emotional eaters, and that when they would have these tests where they would try and induce a sad mood with these women. So they might tell them a sad story. They might ask them to reflect on a sad time in their lives. They might show them a sad clip in a movie. And when they did that, they would then follow that up with offering them a protein-rich drink or a carb-rich drink. And even when blindfolded and just tasting the drink, they would more often than not, choose that carb-rich drink and report satisfaction and an ease in their anxiety over that protein rich drink, which means that it can be addictive. You talk about a lot of people who will drink when they're sad because it helps them relax. That was me. Drink when they have anxiety, relax and unwind, those kinds of things. And it's that addictive behavior that causes them to do that. So what do we do? We've got to spend some time on that. What do? We can't just talk about the problem and then not leave you with any solution. So that's where I want to shift now. What do? I believe it's addictive. Okay. So I believe there's something that goes on in your brain chemistry that causes you to want to eat those processed carbs to help alleviate moods, to stuff down feelings. So what do we do about that? Well, we have to understand first and foremost that what we crave becomes what we eat becomes what we crave. Okay. And so that you can get stuck in a cycle of eating things that are bad for you and begin craving them, or you can shift intentionally and get stuck in a cycle of eating things that are good for your mind and body and become addicted to them. So it starts with intention on your part, because in this day and age, is it really practical or logical to say, I'll never eat another cookie again? I will never have another slice of pizza again. For most of us, it's not. But what we have to get intentional about is beginning to feed our bodies healthier food more often than we feed our bodies the less healthy food. You've got to give yourself a chance. You've got to give yourself a chance. And we have to understand that the types of carbs in our body versus, we've got to be able to differentiate the types of carbs in our body, the types of carbs our body needs versus the types of carbs our body wants. All right. So we have to learn to differentiate between that. And hopefully I'll have some time at the end here to kind of give you a list of those dangerously addictive, simple, carbohydrate laden foods. So hopefully we'll get to that. All right. So that's the first thing. We have to understand that what we eat becomes what we crave. Okay. Now, how do we learn what we're craving? Well, you've got to do some inventory here. You've got to understand, like, the things that you crave may not be the things that I crave. So me telling you, eliminate this, and this, and put this in your diet may not help you at all, one iota, because you don't crave the things, you don't even enjoy the things I'm trying to tell you to eat, and you love the things I'm trying to tell you to steer clear from. So you've got to take your own inventory and understand what and where are the highly processed carbs coming in my day. What are they? Is it candy? Is it cookies? Is it donuts? Is it in the morning? Is it late at night? Is it all over the place? You have to know where your starting point is to know where you're going to go. And then at that point, you can begin to pare down, wean off, eliminate some things that you may not, that you can begin to live without. The reality is, I've read this and I've stated this, 90% of the foods that we eat today weren't even around 100 years ago. Neither were 90% of the diseases that we're faced with. So if you want to stay healthy and well, it really needs to start with the foods that you're taking in. And you really need to take inventory of the processed foods that you're eating. In my personal opinion, if it wasn't around 100 years ago, I probably don't even need to eat it, and I should steer clear of it. And I'm thinking of things like Doritos, Gatorades. That is a big farce in and of itself, the way that we, promote these to our young kids who absolutely do not need that type of energy drink to sustain them on a t-ball field or a basketball court. They're just downright dangerous. The sodium and the sugar that is in those is absolutely dangerous. And if you're not going to do this for you right now, at least begin to think about doing it for your children, because we're passing this stuff down to our children, and it's so, so dangerous. So begin to take inventory and process, what kind of carbs do I crave? Do I feel like I'm addicted to? What can I live without? Just begin to take away one at a time. We started with just cookies in this house, processed cookies. It's like if we want cookies, we're gonna make a cookie that has a little bit of nutritional value and that we can all enjoy. We're not gonna keep buying the Oreos, the Chips Ahoy. They do nothing for you. They don't do anything for you. They don't do anything for your kids. They're not going to do anything for your grandkids. So if you want an experience with your child, look up a healthy recipe for a cookie and bake it together. Give them something that will last. But we started there. And we haven't bought cookies in this house, and I can't tell you how long. Then we moved on to chips, and there's still tortilla chips and sometimes plain chips, but we don't do Doritos. We don't do Cool Ranch Doritos. We don't do those things. And it just one at a time, we just kind of weaned ourselves off of those things, and that's what you can do. And the thing about it is you don't miss them because you begin to develop this appetite for something good, something that will sustain you, something that won't make your stomach hurt after you eat it. And you begin to make those connections like, oh, that's why my stomach hurts all the time. That it was all the junk that's in that food. So you can begin to make those discernments and begin to develop that understanding. But you got to take inventory first. Then you've got to monitor your carbohydrate intake. At Equip for More, we utilize MyFitnessPal. That is the tracking device we use, and we love it. That's what we use. We love it. And when I'm coaching, oftentimes I will sit down with folks and I don't just look at their calories. I want to look at your carbs too. I want to look at your protein. I want to look at your fat. We want to monitor and we want to have that balance. People often find that calorie intake alone doesn't necessarily translate into weight loss. And when it doesn't, it's more often than not a macronutrient imbalance. And so imbalance. And so that's where I come in to help and monitor those carbohydrates. But you can do that too. You can set up your MyFitnessPal or whatever tracking device you use, and you can monitor that. And you just want that pie chart, you just want that graph to be even. My theory is always try to get more protein than you do carbs. If you do that, you are doing well. Third, it's important that you become friends with healthy fats. And the reason for that is because they will sustain you. They're all natural. And when you are sustained and satisfied, you're less likely to crave those simple carbohydrates. And finally, because I gotta pick up the speed here, you want to fill up on fiber. Fiber is more slowly digested than carbohydrates, so it keeps your metabolism revved. It keeps you feeling satisfied and full. And when you feel satisfied, you're less likely to go down that path of looking for simple carbohydrates. I love high fiber fruits and vegetables, nuts, and oatmeal. Oatmeal is one of my favorite meals, snacks, desserts. I love oatmeal all over the place. I just do. So there you go. 4 strategies to help you begin this. If you feel like, I described you in the beginning, that addiction to carbs, it really identifies you. It really describes you. Then you'll want to begin to implement these strategies. Take inventory of the carbs that you're eating and start to wean yourself off of some that don't do you any favors, right? Monitor your carbohydrate intake. I recommend 90 carbs a day. That's just my recommendation. You go by what your doctor says or whoever your health coach is. That's my recommendation for most people. Monitor that, become friends with healthy fats because that's another place you get energy, and really begin to up your fiber intake because that gives you that sustenance and helps you feel satisfied and fuller longer. Those are the strategies I want you to begin to implement. I will just end with this little tidbit that I kind of alluded to earlier. What are some of those higher glycemic index foods that you might want to begin to monitor a little bit more closely. Well, the highest one, I'm not going to go down the whole top 10. I'll give you the top 4. Here they are in order. Pizza, chocolate, chips, and cookies. Pizza, chocolate, chips, and cookies. If you can just start there, 1 or 2 of them. And I'm not saying eliminate them completely, but if they are something daily in your life, if you can pull back a little bit, make that pizza once a week, make it every other week. If you can steer clear of the chocolate to once a day instead of 3 or 4 times a day, eliminate the cookies, move from the Doritos and the Cheetos and the Fritos on over to just maybe plain tortilla chips, whole grain tortilla chips. That would be an incredible start. Not only are you improving your chances at losing weight, but you're eliminating the chances of you developing diabetes and heart disease and all these other issues. So you are prolonging your life. And if you're doing this with your children, with your spouse, you're prolonging their life too. And that is so important. So that will do it for me. I pray this helped you today. And I pray that you begin to pray about the carbohydrates, that God begins to reveal to you what he wants you to eat, because he created foods for healing, energy, sustenance, joy, flavor. There is so much good stuff out there created already. We didn't need to invent all this trash that we've invented, but we did. But it's time for us to get back to the basics, the natural whole foods, so that we can live a whole and blessed and long life. Praise God. Praise God. Well, if you would like one of our devotionals, you can just you might even be able to log on if you're viewing us via the app. You might even be able to click that give button right there at the top. And again, with a one-time or an ongoing $20 or more donation, we will send that out to you with a personal note. If you want to get involved with us in the Bengals partnership, you just need to log on to our website or our app and click on the little Bengals icon. You can register right now for that game on the 27th. We would love to have you. If you want to go to one of the games down the road, just let us know and we will be happy to take you. So that'll do it for me today. Keep us in your prayers tonight. And until next time, have a beautiful, blessed